Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 872A, and today's date is January 20th, 2016, and the title of the episode is Don't Delay, It's Time to Accelerate Your Preps for the Economic Collapse. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. Tomorrow, Thursday, I'll be uploading an interview with Greg Manarino. He'll be uploaded to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. If you're subscribed to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, you will get an email from YouTube, which I hope they do. If not, and you're signed up to the X22 Report email alert system, you will get an email from me. Or you can come right over to the YouTube channel. You'll see the video there. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site. You can scroll down a little bit. It'll be over on your right-hand side. Or you can go to the news site, which is newssentinel.com. That's NEWZSENTINEL.com. Scroll down a little bit. It will be on your right-hand side. News Sentinel is a site that I built where we're streaming in news stories from around the world all into one location. It also includes videos. So there's one place where everyone can go and you can find out what's going on in the world. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, this market is fluctuating up and down. I mean, one day, the high-frequency traders, the plunge protection team, they're able to get the market above zero, in the green. Today, the market completely collapses on itself. And going forward, we're going to see a lot of this type of fluctuation in the market. This, right now, is the first phase of the collapse, where the illusion of the central banking system is being ripped apart right now. They can't control it. Yes, they have the ability to control statistical numbers like GDP, inflation, unemployment. They have the ability to have hedge funds and investment companies purchase homes and hold on to them. Tell the banks, hold on to these homes so the prices drive up. They have the ability to create propaganda on the corporate media to convince us that the economy is improving. But when the system starts to fall apart and their illusion starts to crack, they can't stop this. And as we know, they don't want this economy to fall apart without some type of an event. And when we look around the globe right now, we're starting to see that the situation with the economy in Europe, in Australia, in Canada, the United States, UK, even though they want us to believe that everything is fine, and they'll continue to do this until the very end, everything is not fine. The economy just can't flip around and all of a sudden everyone has a job. Everyone is fine. The debt is paid down. It's not going to happen. Their system, the central banking system, does not work that way. Their system, their product is debt. They can't get rid of the debt. And we know we're at the last phase because what they've been doing is they've been stealing and robbing the natural resources from every single country and stealing the wealth from the people. That phase is coming to an end. When I talked about the Fed giving us a signal of raising the interest rates, that means they're ready to go with the collapse. Here we are. We are heading down that path. Right now, global unemployment, it is going to rise to 3.4 million in 2 years. And this is coming from the International Labor Organization. It's going to surpass the 200 million by the end of 2017. This is the first time on record. So that means 3 million more people will be unemployed. So what does this mean? If more and more people are unemployed and more people losing their jobs, that means less revenues going into the governments. That means they can't pay off their debt. That means people can't feed themselves. They can't pay for housing. They can't pay for electric. We're going to see social unrest on a global scale. That's what this report is telling us. And we're seeing this accelerate all over the world right now. And it's getting worse. I mean, look at this for instance. The energy sector has lost up to 250,000 jobs. Shell is going to fire another 10,000. And it is getting worse and worse as time goes on. We're seeing tons of layoffs. We're seeing retail stores saying, you know something, we need to close our stores at this point. Why? Because we don't have the sales. Why don't we have the sales? Because it's not the weather. It's not because we have online sales. It's because we don't have people purchasing. People don't have jobs. If you don't have jobs or you have a part-time job, you don't have extra money to go out and purchase the goods. We see that housing, it is a complete disaster. And you see the stock market falling now. You see layoffs appearing. What do you think is going to happen to housing? We've already seen it decline. What we're getting right now is that housing starts unexpectedly, as they say. Is it unexpected? No, it's expected. We've been following this. We know what's going on. Housing declined by 2.5% in December. New home construction in the U.S. fell apart. And we know this because we're looking at lumber sales. We're looking at the delivery on rail and by trucks. We're looking at the falsified numbers by the BLS and the government, where they manipulated the numbers for the last 10 years. And what's very interesting is that permits, a proxy for future construction, it also fell on a decline in applications for multifamily projects. The housing market has topped off. Prices are coming down. It's getting harder and harder to sell homes. And this is spreading across the country. And if you think you're in that area where everything is fine, it will eventually hit you and it will be a complete disaster. Macy's right now is thinking up a new strategy. Well, we're not getting sales in our expensive stores. We need to close those stores. Maybe we should turn our stores into discount outlets. And why are they doing this? Well, because as more and more people get part-time jobs, they don't have the money, they're going to discount outlets. So the stores, the Macy's stores, are going to sell Macy's brands at steeply discounted prices, up to 80% off. And they're following the models like TJ Maxx, Nordstrom Rack, where they're giving heavy discounts to move their merchandise because no one is paying the full price right now. Now, is this going to work? Most likely not. Even these stores are going to get hit because most of these items are still too expensive. And as more and more layoffs hit, people are not going to have the funds to pay. We see IBM right now. It is a complete disaster. And we're looking at these major corporations, and they are showing us that revenue being brought into these companies, it is continually declining. Right now, IBM has now seen its revenue drop for 15 consecutive quarters. Caterpillar is seeing the same thing. And what's very interesting about all of this is during the Great Recession, we've had 4 quarters of negative revenue. Now we have 15. And this is the recovery. There is no recovery. We've been lied to by the United States government, the central banking system. But we knew this because we've been looking at what's really going on here in the U.S. and globally. Well, it looks like earnings growth has now slowed to its weakest since 2014. And this is absolutely awful. And we can tell at this point that the entire market is completely overvalued. These companies are not bringing in the revenue as everyone thought. And the whole thing was inflated to make everyone believe that we're in a recovery. Remember, the stock market is not an indicator of the economy. It's the afterthought. It's the illusion to the rest of the world to say, hey, look, we're doing fine. Even if the economy is falling apart like we've been showing, and we've been in this collapse situation for quite a while, as long as they're able to keep the market up, they can keep their little illusion alive that we're in a recovery. And when the market falls, that's only when they acknowledge the collapse. But it's always been here. And this is when companies say, okay, now we have the excuse to lay off more people. Now we have the excuse to shut down more stores. Now we have the excuse to do everything they did back in 2008. But this time, when this market comes down, it's going to be horrific. It's going to be 100 times worse than 2008. Remember, back in 2008, people had equity in their homes. People had high-paying jobs. And boom, it hit a brick wall. And people lost their wealth. They lost their home. Foreclosures were rising. Short sales were rising. People couldn't get back on their feet. They lost their retirement. And here we are, 8 years later. And those people who lost everything never got to the same point of where they were. The foreclosures are still on the books of the Fed. They have all the toxic loans. The economy did not produce any high-paying jobs. We lost more manufacturing. And we're seeing layoffs left and right here. Challenger Gray and Christmas. From June 2014 all the way up to December 2015, almost 1 million layoffs occurred. And this is continuing. So this is not getting better whatsoever. And the Fed is continually monetizing half of this year's U.S. Treasury issuance. They haven't really stopped QE. They're doing it covertly because countries are dumping the treasuries. They're trying to get away from the United States dollar. They're trying to get away from the U.S. Treasury. And we're seeing this accelerate at this point. The International Trade Union Confederation is saying, yeah, this economic growth, it's not going to return. It's coming to an end. Well, actually, it has come to an end. And they're saying that we're at a tipping point. And we are at a tipping point. And this tipping point is the collapse. As soon as the market goes down, we're going to tip right into it. And the world will now understand that we are in this collapse. It is the signal to let everyone know. It doesn't mean that it wasn't happening. It's been happening for quite a while. Everyone's just going to acknowledge it at this point. Now, there's more information coming out with the TPP. The World Bank report predicted that the TPP would produce negligible boost to the economies of the US, Australia, and Canada. Also in the report, it's saying that the US will lose about 450,000 jobs and it will see a contraction of the economy. Well, we know this because we know within the TPP they're going to be bringing in third world labor into this country. And companies will have the ability to pay these people coming in from a third world country their wages. So the U.S. worker will not be able to compete. Remember, they're setting the United States up right now to be a third world country. Everything is moving from west to east. And when all is said and done, the United States will no longer be the reserve currency. Now, of course, we know the U.S. government and the central bankers, the Fed, they're going to fight for this, which means war. But eventually, when all is said and done, the U.S., the way we live our lives is going to completely change unless the people of this country do something about it, and we change like Iceland did. We change our government. We remove the Fed. This is where we are headed. This is what we're going to need to do when the time is right. Now, Saudi Arabia, they are having major problems right now. They have lost about 100 billion in 1 year because of the cheap oil. They're ready to unleash capital controls, and they're going to ban bets against the dollar peg. And it looks like their economy is starting to crumble apart. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start looking towards Russia at this point, because it looks like the people in the country, the royal family, they're going to have major problems. The AIIB, that bank is live right now. That's the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. And they are ready to finance about 10 projects, which totals about $1 billion, and they're going to do this in 2016. And they're looking to build up the infrastructure in the Asia-Pacific region. Now, as this economy falls apart, everyone needs to start accelerating their preps. I mean, we're starting to see what's happening here. And as we go through this year, it's going to accelerate. If the collapse accelerates, we need to accelerate our preps. We need to go into overdrive. And if you haven't started, I would start right now. You want to jump on this? You can go to lifereliance.com. They can help you with bug out bags. You can get water filtration system. You can get seeds. You can customize your food. But whatever you do, you need to get more food. You need to have water. You need to have medical supplies. I would have a weapon to protect your family. I would have extra fuel for your automobile. I would have toiletries. I would have extra batteries. Because we don't know what the situation's going to be. So you want to be ready on all fronts. Plus, we know there's going to be heavy inflation coming. Because as the value of the dollar falls, just like the loonie in Canada, we're going to see food prices skyrocket. Products, the prices on that is going to skyrocket. And it will become very, very difficult to get these things. Now, those people who are just waking up to this, once they get laid off, they're going to be stampeding into the markets trying to get these type of materials because they're going to realize what's going on here. And this is the social unrest part of it. Because as more and more people are getting laid off, it's going to be a chain reaction. And as Bill Holter says, the credit markets are going to dry up. Trucking, rail, the deliveries aren't going to come in. And I don't know if everyone remembers, when we were coming off the gold standard back in the 70s, you had to wait online for fuel. You had to wait for your day, and it went on your license plate if it was odd or even, or the gas stations had a red and green flag. And you couldn't just drive up to a station and get fuel. The same thing's going to happen once again, but it's going to be on a larger scale. And this is why everyone needs to be prepared and to accelerate their preps. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.